Jody here, and welcome back to my channel. So in today's video, I'm going to be giving a spoiler-free review on the latest book that I have read. So without any further ado, let's get on to today's spoiler-free book review, and that would be for the book Vicious by B.E. Schwab. So Vicious is about Victor Vale and Eli Cardell. Victor and Eli are friends and roommates at Laughlin University, where they are both seniors there studying science. Victor and Eli are taking a class together at school, and the time has come for everyone in the class to pick a topic for their senior thesis. Eli has chosen to explore to see if someone can have superhuman abilities and be extraordinary. When Eli shares with Victor what he has chosen as his topic for his senior thesis, Victor finds himself intrigued and tells Eli to keep him in the loop with his findings. After Eli has done his research to see if someone can be extraordinary, he tells Victor it seems as though it's possible, and he thinks he has found a way on how that can happen. After hearing everything, Victor tells Eli that the two of them should test Eli's theory out on themselves. At first, Eli is against Victor's idea, but soon he comes around to it. What happens next ends up changing both Victor and Eli's lives forever in ways they could have never have imagined. This is the first book by B.E. Schwab that I've read, and I'm definitely interested in reading more from this author now that I've read one of their books. Vicious is the first book in a duology, Vengeful is the second book in the series, and Vengeful is for sure the next book by this author that I would want to read. So now for my thoughts on the book. I really like this book. Now for what I liked about the book. One of the things I really liked about the book were the characters. The author did a beyond amazing job with the characters in the book. All the characters were incredibly well written. The characters were written in a very three-dimensional way where you really got a good sense of who they were. One of the things that I liked as far as my specific thoughts on the characters was how Victor, Mitch, and Sydney kind of became like their own little family in the book. I loved how they all stood up for one another and always had each other's backs. They were able to find trust in each other that they hadn't been able to find in others in their lives up to that point. And it was nice to see those moments of warmth and kindness in a book filled with such vengeance. Another thing about the book that I liked was the story. The story was a very interesting and engaging one about a broken friendship gone awry. Basically a revenge story. After Eli and Victor have this falling out, Victor finds himself wanting revenge on his old friend Eli. The story in the book took the concept of villain versus villain and ran with it. In stories like this one, you usually don't find yourself rooting for the bad guy, but in Vicious you do. Victor and Eli are both villains. I would say, though, that Victor is the lesser of the two villains, when you compare the two of them. Don't get me wrong, Victor is still very much a bad guy, still very much a villain. He still very much is someone who will do whatever it takes to get whatever he wants, especially if those things lead to Eli. But because of what Victor went through after his falling out with Eli, he's had time to think of the errors of his ways, especially from his past. He's had time to grow and to evolve and to become a villain with somewhat of a conscience, whereas Eli has continued to think and act in the same ways that he has since his fallout with Victor, worse in fact. And so when you compare the two, you do find yourself rooting for the lesser of the two villains, which in this case would be Victor. If you read the book, I think you'll see what I mean. So the last thing about the book that I liked was how even though this book is technically a fantasy, it reads like a thriller. The author did an amazing job with the pacing in the book. There was never a dull or boring moment throughout the whole entire story. The story went at such a fast pace that you couldn't help but find yourself on the edge of your seat as you were reading the book. The twists and turns in the book were incredibly well done and not at all predictable. This story is truly one that kept you on your toes. So now for my star rating. I like this book a lot. It was very well written with interesting characters and a story that kept you turning the pages. My star rating for Vicious was 5 stars. Now for is this a book I would recommend reading? As someone who doesn't, read fantasy very often, and I do mean not very often, as I believe Vicious is the first fantasy book that I've read, or at least the first fantasy book that I've read since I got into reading again many years ago now. I'm glad though that I gave the fantasy genre a try, because I came away absolutely loving this book much more than I thought I would. I really think at the end of the day, Vicious is a book anyone would like, whether you're super into reading or it's normally a genre you don't go for it when picking up a book to read. So I highly recommend Vicious to read. So yeah, that's going to be it for today. Thank you so very much for watching. I hope they helped you discover a new book today. And until next time, bye.